So, Donald Trump just had an absolute meltdown on Truth Social after Congress dropped a bombshell demand that could expose decades of his financial dealings. And what triggered this explosion? A bipartisan committee vote that passed with shocking Republican support, authorizing subpoenas for Trump's complete tax returns and financial records going back to 2000. We're talking about 25 years of financial documentation that Trump has fought tooth and nail to keep hidden. According to multiple sources inside the Capitol, Trump started posting within minutes of the vote, calling it a witch hunt worse than anything we've ever seen, and threatening to remember every single rhino traitor who voted for it. This isn't just another congressional investigation or political theater. We're talking about a formal demand backed by congressional subpoena power that could reveal everything from real estate valuations to foreign business dealings to loan structures that Trump has spent millions in legal fees trying to conceal. And trust me, Trump's reaction on social media tells you everything about how terrified he is of what might be uncovered. It's honestly hard to believe we're watching a former president have a public meltdown because Congress is doing exactly what it's constitutionally empowered to do: provide oversight and investigate potential conflicts of interest. Let me fill you in on what's been happening. The House Oversight Committee has been building toward this moment for months, quietly gathering preliminary evidence and building a bipartisan coalition. After Kevin McCarthy's ouster and Mike Johnson's rocky speakership, there's been a shift in Republican willingness to assert congressional independence from Trump's demands. According to Politico's December 10th report, moderate Republicans have been increasingly frustrated with Trump's grip on the party and his demands for absolute loyalty even when it conflicts with their constitutional duties. The committee spent weeks negotiating the scope of the subpoena, bringing in both Republican and Democratic legal experts to ensure it would withstand court challenges. But here's where the rubber meets the road. During a closed-door session on December 9th, the committee voted 28-14 to authorize comprehensive financial subpoenas targeting Trump's businesses, personal accounts, and related entities. What shocked everyone was that 6 Republicans joined all Democrats in supporting the measure. These weren't fringe moderates or outgoing members with nothing to lose. These were sitting Republicans from competitive districts who made a calculated decision that congressional oversight matters more than Trump's approval. And before we go any further, let's be real for a second. For Republicans to vote against Trump's interests on something this significant means they've concluded that protecting him is more dangerous politically than standing up to him. That's a massive shift in the political calculus. Here's where it gets interesting. According to multiple sources, including CBS News and CNN, here's what went down in that committee room. The vote came after nearly 4 hours of closed testimony from forensic accountants and legal experts who presented preliminary findings about irregularities in Trump's financial disclosures. According to CBS News reporting from December 9th, the committee heard evidence of significant discrepancies between valuations Trump provided to banks versus what he reported to tax authorities. The forensic accountants described patterns consistent with what they called aggressive tax optimization strategies that warranted further investigation. Committee Chair Jamie Raskin reportedly laid out a methodical case for why the subpoenas were necessary, not just legally justified but constitutionally required given Trump's renewed presidential ambitions. He emphasized that this wasn't about partisan politics, but about ensuring that someone seeking the presidency doesn't have undisclosed conflicts of interest or financial vulnerabilities that could compromise national security. According to reporters who spoke with members after the vote, several Republicans privately expressed concern about foreign business dealings, particularly involving properties in countries with adversarial relationships to the United States. The bombshell came when Representative Nancy Mace, a South Carolina Republican who has been unpredictable in her Trump support, stood up and announced she would vote yes on the subpoenas. According to multiple reporters in the room, Mace delivered an impassioned speech about congressional responsibility, noting that if Congress won't provide oversight when someone has this many questions surrounding their finances, then Congress has abdicated its constitutional role. She was joined by representatives from swing districts in California, New York, and Pennsylvania, Republicans who calculated that their voters want accountability more than they want Trump protection. This sent shockwaves through the Capitol because it transforms the entire dynamic. When Republicans break ranks on something Trump cares deeply about, it signals that his control over the party is weakening. The claims that investigating Trump is purely partisan collapse when members of his own party vote for the investigation. This testimony and vote made clear that at least some Republicans believe the financial questions are serious enough to warrant examination regardless of political consequences. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen Trump absolutely lose it when faced with financial scrutiny. Just think about how he fought the Manhattan District Attorney's subpoena for his tax returns all the way to the Supreme Court. Trump spent years arguing that sitting presidents couldn't be investigated, that prosecutors were politically motivated, and that releasing his returns would be unprecedented. He lost that fight, and when his returns were finally released, they revealed years of massive losses and questionable deductions that raised even more questions. Then there was his battle with New York Attorney General Letitia James over his business practices. Trump claimed executive privilege, argued the investigation was a witch hunt, and attacked James personally and relentlessly. But the investigation proceeded anyway, ultimately resulting in a civil fraud trial that found Trump had systematically inflated asset values by billions of dollars. The judge in that case called Trump's financial statements fraudulent and imposed massive penalties. And let's not forget how Trump attacked the congressional investigation into his tax returns during his presidency. House Democrats spent years fighting for access, citing their oversight responsibilities and the need to understand potential conflicts of interest. Trump claimed the requests were harassment, that his returns were under audit, and that Democrats just wanted to embarrass him politically. When Congress finally obtained the returns after he left office, they revealed he paid minimal federal income taxes for years and had extensive foreign business entanglements. Even his own former CFO, Alan Weisselberg, pleaded guilty to tax fraud charges related to the Trump Organization's practices. Weisselberg, who knew every detail of Trump's finances after decades with the company, chose cooperation and admitted to criminal conduct rather than face trial. The man who managed Trump's money admitted in court that the organization engaged in systematic tax fraud. Now, it looks like Congress is demanding the most comprehensive look yet at Trump's finances, and his reaction suggests he's terrified of what they'll find. The pattern is unmistakable. Trump fights financial transparency with everything he has, claims every investigation is political persecution, attacks anyone who asks questions about his money, and ultimately loses when courts and investigators persist. So, what specifically is Congress demanding? And why is Trump so panicked? Let's break it down. According to the subpoena authorization reported by Politico and CNN, Congress is demanding complete tax returns from 2000 to 2024, covering both personal returns and business entity returns. That's 25 years of detailed financial information that shows income sources, deductions, losses, and potential red flags. They're also demanding complete banking records from major institutions that have financed Trump properties. This would reveal loan terms, collateral agreements, and whether Trump provided accurate financial information to secure financing. Legal experts note that if there are significant discrepancies between what Trump told banks and what he told tax authorities, that's potential bank fraud. Now, here's the kicker. The subpoenas also target foreign business dealings specifically, requiring disclosure of all transactions with entities in Russia, Saudi Arabia, China, Turkey, and several other countries. This goes directly to national security concerns about whether Trump has financial relationships that could compromise his judgment or make him vulnerable to foreign pressure. The committee is demanding communications between Trump, his accountants, and his attorneys regarding financial strategies and valuations. While some of these might be protected by attorney-client privilege, forensic accountants can often spot patterns even in redacted documents that reveal whether someone was engaging in legitimate tax planning or crossing into fraud. According to MSNBC's legal analyst who reviewed the subpoena scope, this is the most comprehensive financial investigation of a former president in modern history. The breadth and depth of what Congress is demanding means there's virtually nowhere for questionable financial practices to hide. Every property valuation, every loan application, every foreign payment, it all becomes visible. This leaves Trump in an extraordinarily difficult position. On one side, he needs to fight these subpoenas to prevent disclosure of information he's spent decades hiding. That means deploying armies of lawyers, filing emergency motions, appealing every ruling, and dragging the process out as long as possible. Every day the documents remain hidden is a day he can control the narrative and claim persecution. On the flip side, he has to fight these battles publicly while also running for president and dealing with multiple criminal cases. The more he fights financial transparency, the more it looks like he's hiding something significant. Voters who might give him the benefit of the doubt start wondering what's so damaging that he'll spend millions to conceal it. That undermines his campaign messaging about being a successful businessman who has nothing to hide. The tricky part is there's no good legal argument available to him. Trump can't claim executive privilege because he's not president. He can't claim the requests are overly broad because Congress narrowed them after extensive legal consultation. He can't claim they're politically motivated when Republicans voted for them. Every avenue he used successfully in the past has been blocked. So, Trump is caught in a bind. He can either comply with the subpoenas and risk disclosure of financial information that could be politically devastating or even criminally incriminating. That means potentially facing new investigations, civil penalties, or criminal charges if the documents reveal fraud. Or he can refuse to comply and fight it in court, but that means protracted legal battles he's likely to lose, massive legal fees, and constant media coverage keeping financial questions front and center throughout his campaign. It's a nightmare scenario, and there's no clear path out. This whole scenario is causing absolute panic throughout Trump world. If Congress gains access to comprehensive financial records, the implications extend far beyond political embarrassment. Other prosecutors in other jurisdictions could use the information for their own investigations. Foreign governments might leak information about Trump's business dealings in their countries. Banks that finance Trump properties could face questions about their due diligence. According to Fox News coverage, even reliably pro-Trump commentators struggle to explain why Trump should be allowed to hide his finances when he's running for president. Several noted that financial transparency has been standard for presidential candidates for 50 years and that Trump's refusal to comply with norms raises legitimate questions. When even Fox is having trouble defending his position, that tells you how weak his arguments are. Meanwhile, Trump's supporters on social media went into overdrive, attacking the Republicans who voted for the subpoenas. Death threats appeared online within hours, targeting Nancy Mace and the other Republicans who broke ranks. Trump himself posted on Truth Social calling them traitors and rhinos who would be primaried and destroyed politically. He specifically named each Republican who voted yes, essentially putting targets on their backs for his most extreme followers. Things became even more intense when Trump's legal team filed an emergency motion in federal court trying to block the subpoenas before they could be executed. According to legal experts who reviewed the filing, the arguments were weak and unlikely to succeed. The motion claimed congressional overreach, violation of separation of powers, and political persecution, but none of these arguments have worked in previous financial cases. Courts have consistently held that Congress has broad investigative powers and that former presidents don't have special protections from legitimate oversight. Legal analysts are noting that financial investigations of this scope often lead to unexpected discoveries. Andrew Weissman, former FBI general counsel, appeared on MSNBC and stated that comprehensive financial subpoenas rarely come back clean when someone has fought this hard to prevent disclosure. He noted that forensic accountants will examine every transaction, every valuation, every claim deduction, and that patterns of fraud or evasion become visible when you can see the complete picture across multiple years. Former federal prosecutor Preet Bharara added on his podcast that the foreign business dealings component is particularly significant. He explained that if Trump received payments from foreign governments or entities controlled by foreign governments while serving as president or after leaving office, that raises serious constitutional and national security questions. The Emoluments Clause prohibits presidents from receiving payments from foreign governments, and if evidence shows Trump violated that prohibition, the legal consequences could be severe. So, let's break down what this could mean, because it's not just a captivating political drama. It has serious consequences for Trump's legal exposure, his political future, and his business empire. First up is the immediate legal impact. If the subpoenas are enforced and documents are produced, Congress will have forensic accountants examining every aspect of Trump's finances. Any evidence of fraud gets referred to appropriate prosecutors. Any evidence of foreign payments gets investigated for potential corruption or emoluments violations. Any evidence of tax evasion gets referred to the IRS and potentially to criminal tax prosecutors. The political implications are equally significant. Voters will learn details about Trump's finances that he's fought for years to conceal. Every questionable transaction becomes a campaign issue. Every inflated valuation becomes evidence of dishonesty. Every foreign payment becomes a national security question. Democratic campaign ads write themselves when you can show Trump received money from adversarial foreign governments while making policy decisions affecting those countries. Looking ahead to the Republican primary and general election, this creates massive headaches for Trump's campaign. He'll face constant questions about financial improprieties. Other candidates will demand he release the documents voluntarily if he has nothing to hide. His refusal to comply becomes Exhibit A that he's hiding criminal conduct. Moderate Republicans and independent voters who might have supported him start questioning whether someone with this many financial secrets should be trusted with the presidency again. But beyond immediate legal and political consequences, this is about institutional precedent. Congress is asserting its oversight authority despite intense political pressure from the target. That precedent matters for future presidents and former presidents who might think they can ignore congressional subpoenas or hide financial information. If Congress successfully obtains these documents despite Trump's resistance, it reinforces that no one is above oversight and that constitutional checks and balances still function. This whole scenario is causing absolute chaos within the Republican Party. Members who voted for the subpoenas are being threatened and attacked by Trump loyalists. Members who voted against them are being attacked by constituents who want accountability. The party is fracturing in real time between those who believe Trump deserves protection from investigation and those who believe Congress has a constitutional duty to investigate regardless of who's involved. According to reporting from Punchbowl News, Republican leadership is in crisis mode trying to manage the fallout. They can't defend Trump's position without looking like they're enabling financial corruption. They can't attack him without facing base backlash. They can't stay silent because the media demands comment on such a significant vote. Every option alienates some faction of the party. Meanwhile, Democrats are unified and energized. They're framing this as basic government accountability, asking the simple question of why Trump is so desperate to hide his finances if everything was legitimate. That message resonates with voters who are tired of double standards and who believe presidents should be held to higher ethical standards, not lower ones. It's about so much more than just Trump's finances. It's about whether Congress can exercise its oversight powers when investigating powerful political figures. If Trump successfully defies these subpoenas, then we're basically saying former presidents are above congressional investigation, that they can hide financial information even when running for office again, and that political power provides immunity from accountability. That would mean we've abandoned the principle that no one is above the law. This isn't just about Trump's tax returns or business deals. It's about whether our system of checks and balances can function when one person commands such intense political loyalty that members of his own party are afraid to investigate him. The Constitution gives Congress oversight powers specifically to prevent corruption and ensure accountability. If those powers become inoperative when investigating popular political figures, then we've lost a fundamental protection against abuse of power. The question is whether Trump's financial past can withstand sunlight or whether disclosure will reveal the fraud and corruption that prosecutors have suspected for years. Either way, the American people deserve to know the truth before deciding whether to give him power again. So, here's the deal. Congress just voted with bipartisan support to subpoena 25 years of Trump's financial records, and Trump responded with a complete meltdown, calling Republicans who voted for it traitors. This isn't just about political investigation or partisan attacks. It's about whether someone running for president can hide decades of financial dealings from the public and from the congressional oversight that's supposed to protect against corruption. When 6 Republicans decided that congressional duty outweighed loyalty to Trump, and when forensic accountants are telling Congress there are serious questions that need answers, we've entered a genuinely significant moment. If Trump has nothing to hide, he could release the documents voluntarily and end all speculation. His desperate fight to conceal this information tells you everything about what those documents likely contain. So, keep an eye on this. Trump's lawyers will file every possible motion to delay and obstruct. Republicans who voted yes will face primary challenges funded by Trump's PAC, and eventually, likely after extensive court battles, these documents will be produced. The stakes have never been higher, the financial questions never more serious, and the political fallout never more unpredictable. What happens next could determine not just Trump's political future, but whether financial transparency remains a requirement for those seeking the presidency.